guys. Good morning. I'm on the line over here with Rich Adamski from Remax, first in New Jersey. Good morning, Rich.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
And
Good morning.
team.
Good morning. Yeah. So, Rich, I'm so honored to have you on here. You every time I get a chance to talk to you, you talk about accountability. In fact, even when we spoke, you were in the middle of a prospecting session. So I thought this was going to be a special treat for our agents on the call today because, one of the challenges in New York is that we're still under executive order. We're at home, and many agents are, confused as to what to do, how to do it. And some agents have had success with sending videos to their sphere and prospecting because there's other ways to prospect. So what I'd like to do today, Rich, our theme has been, since we've been at home, is we've been getting interviews with agents from around the country, actually around the world. And we're talking about past, present, and future topics in real estate specific to the person that I'm interviewing. So if you could start out by just introducing yourself, tell us about the past, kind of an intro into your, you entering the business and how you got started. If you could be willing to share that story with us, Rich.
So how I got started in real estate in general?
Yeah, how you got started, and then of course what led up to your progression and your success. So yeah, because that's really the past. We're talking so the theme has been past, present, future of the person that we're interviewing. So just whatever you could do to share your story to inspire and give hope to our agents.
Perfect. So I actually came in 2012. So right at I guess that was the tilting point where real estate started to make its positive ascent, right? So when I graduated college, I worked at Bloomberg in the city. So I was there for about a little over 3.5 years. So basically what happened is for some reason in my life, I was never able to take, what's the best way I can say it? If somebody were to come to me and tell me to do something, I would always do the opposite. So I was really hard on myself in terms of if a manager came up to me. So then one day I decided corporate America wasn't for me. And then I was actually just watching those, HDTV channels of real estate. And all of a sudden I was walking out of my house and I was going to work and my neighbor was selling their house, and that real estate agent that was putting the sign in the ground was like, hey, listen, for some reason, he just started talking to me. And we talked for like 20 minutes. He was like, hey, listen, if you ever want to make real money, contact me. He gave me his card. He was the owner of the company. All of a sudden, I think like 2 weeks later, I called him up, and all of a sudden I'm in real estate, and I quit my career and I decided to go in real estate 100%. And I would say within that first year, I would say the first like 8 months, I didn't do a single deal, right? So I left my job. I'm living on my bank account. I'm doing absolutely nothing with whatchamacallit, with my career. All I know is I'm calling, I'm doing open houses, I'm being a buyer's agent, I'm doing everything you can possibly do. And under my belt in 8 months, all I did was, I think, 1 or 2 rentals that put like maybe $500 total in my pocket at that moment in time. And I'm living on my own. So I still have to pay rent. I still have to pay all these bills. And I'm just watching my bank account go lower and lower and lower. And then one day I decided to start prospecting in a way. And then from there, I did from 8 months to the end of the year. I actually ended up doing 27 transactions. I ended up getting a lead from somebody. I can't recall who it was, but I got a lead from somebody that I knew. And then that deal turned in, and all of a sudden I made like 12 grand on a transaction. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is some serious money. Gave me hope. And then I continued prospering through there. And then I was with the mom and pop company for about 5 years. Yeah, almost 5 years, 4.5, 5 years with the mom and pop company. I was just a buyer's agent. I was doing, low number of transactions. Year 2, I think, was like 41 transactions. I think year 2 was like 47. Year 4, it was 63, if I remember correctly. And these were all basically buyer transactions. So I was working a lot, just getting out there and, putting, 15, 16 hours a day. And then I wanted to start prospecting, and that company.
So how many appointments were you doing as a buyer's agent to get to those levels? I mean, you said a lot, 14 hours a day. What would you say, just roughly a week, that you're doing on appointments? Just rough.
I remember the weekends. The weekends, my goal was to have 6 minimum clients a day. So I was putting anywhere between 12, let's say 10 to 14 clients just per weekend. And then during the week, I probably was doing, I don't know, maybe at 2 or 3. It was the weekend where it was the most productive for me because that's when the most people were always around. So yeah, I was going on a lot of appointments and I was failing a lot. And I started coaching with a different company at that time. I was with Tom Ferry, who basically was geared towards buyer's agents, not necessarily towards, because they were saying buy Zillow, buy this, buy that, get buyer leads, basically all I was getting. And I was following that model. But then right around that time period, I decided to switch to Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry is all outbound calls. So that's when I started seeing a really big switch in the company, right? Or in my business, I should say. So then I switched over to Remax, and I've been with Remax for about 4 years, I want to say, a little over 4 years. And then that's when I seen a big switch because I started going to more listing appointments. I started doing more outbound phone calls. And during that time period is when I started learning how to fail. I started learning my scripts. I started learning my dialogues. That's when I started becoming a real estate agent, in my opinion, because doing the other side of things is great. But at the same time, it is, a lot of focus was towards just getting in the car and being in the car. Because, Jersey versus New York, I'm not really sure about the difference about buyers agents and how you guys do it. I think it's more foot traffic and more maybe riding your bicycles. But out here, we'll call it the suburbs. Is a lot different where, they get in a car, they follow you around and do that. And then once I was able to successfully learn, get into a prospect, get into my schedule, get into a daily routine, do everything that I could possibly do on the seller side, that's when I started going, into a different pendulum. Right. And I remember talking to you about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Somewhere about that, when I actually learned it and I started taking your hints and I started building a team and I started building a back office. I started building systems. I started building processes. And with that, it gave me a lot of leisure. So I went from doing, 60 transactions as a buyer's agent to the following year when I switched over to a listing agent. I was in the 40s. I don't remember the exact number, but somewhere in the 40s, where it was a back step. But then I knew that as time goes on, I would do more. And then last year I did 94 transactions by myself, and almost 90% of them were all seller side. So
Wow.
the rest were kind of just dual agency with the rest of the transactions, and if I take a referral. So as you said,
so you took a step back to go forward because you wanted to build something out.
Correct.
Right. And that's what's interesting, Rich, is that, many agents, they may see that as a fail, as they took a step back, and they don't always look at, well, what happened? Why was there a dip? And you were just operationalizing. You just, redistributed your time. So yeah, to tell me about the discipline. So you built this back office, you built some operational pieces there, but, for the group here who are, just prospecting or working heavily on buyers, and by the way, there was nothing wrong with that. You still made a living on buyers. You just wanted to do it differently. Instead of working 16 hours, you wanted to operate a little bit more efficiently. So, because you still make a living on them. But where's the discipline at? Because I know that you said you set aside time. Is it something that you do every day, every other day? Do you have a certain hour of the day? These are questions that most commonly asked by agents. What's the best time to prospect? What's the best day to prospect? So can you share a little bit about that?
In my opinion, the best time, the best day is the day that you think about it, just do it. The best time is when you have time, whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the afternoon, 10 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock at night. Hold on. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You see me?
Yeah, I got you.
Call. Whatchamacallit? I just feel like, you guys still seeing me?
We lost it for a second.
Gotcha. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing. Sorry about that. I had to hop on my phone. That's why. So my opinion is a lot of people always try to put a lot of time and emphasis of when should I call? When should I do it? And then they're like, all right, instead of prospecting, what we're going to do is we're going to read the scripts, we're going to read the dialogues, and we're going to understand the scripts, and we're going to understand the dialogues, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to role play with people, and we're going to continue role playing. And once I feel comfortable, then I'm going to get on the phone, and then I'm going to be the best prospector in the world. And that to me is a fallacy. I think that yes, you shouldn't be prospecting and practicing on your clients, but I really believe in just picking up the phone and just going directly, right? And when you go directly, that you're able to take on a lot more than you think you're supposed to do. So in respect to what time, I just say do it. I say start for an hour a day, call it your power hour, and then when you're on your power hour, start just working in that hour. And maybe I always start with a little couple singles and doubles. If I don't feel like doing it for that day, what I normally do is I call past clients and I start that way. I get a positive conversation in, and then once I have that positive conversation, I will be able to start prospecting. So for me, I mean, right now during quarantine, it's a lot different because I'm in my basement right now, right? So I'm working from home. We still have the same guidelines. We can't come into the office as well. So I have to make everything work, right? So right now we're going to talk
So, Rich,
non-quarantine.
just can we, yeah, before we get to that, because you dropped a lot of you dropped a lot on us just now, and I want to roll it back for the agents. You know, the fallacy part, right? And what happens in our industry as a whole, most of us, including myself, Rich, you know, have overthought things, and I still overthink things even now today. I just try to overthink things less now. So, what has kind of helped you break through that barrier, right? And I think that you mentioned what helped you is if you don't feel like doing it, because guys, Rich, just as we've talked about many times, sometimes you wake up and you're like, you know what, I just don't feel like getting rejected, because nobody wakes up and gets excited about rejection, right? That's not human unless you
Correct.
pinch yourself and you feel no pain. Being rejected doesn't feel good. So you mentioned, which is fantastic, you call somebody that you knew just to get a positive conversation going. Anything you can add to that part? You know, are you using a dialer, by the way? So if you could hit us with those two things before we go to quarantine, which is kind of where we're in the present, you know, can you tell me some of the tools that you use, if any, to help you call these customers or clients? Are there any tools?
Well, I wouldn't say they're tools. I mean, I'm all scripted, right? So if I'm calling an expired, if I'm calling a for sale by owner, if I'm calling a probate or any list that I'm calling, I'm pretty much scripted, right? Because I'm controlling the conversation. However, when I'm calling a past client, it's something simple, somebody I haven't thought about, and normally it's I'm not even thinking about that person, or I am. If I normally every day, I somebody different pops up in my head. So if that person pops in my head, I'm like, I wonder why they're popping in my head. So then I'll call them. So let's say, for instance, you know, Mike, you're my past client, and you just popped up in my head, right? And it's 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's early in the morning, but I know that they're up. I'll give them a call and be like, hey, Mike, it's Rich. You know, for some reason you popped up in my head this morning, so I'm just curious to know how things are going. And then we just have a positive conversation, and they'll tell me about whatever's going on. And then right now they're asking me about kind of how's real estate and, you know, what I think about it. But I'll just have a quick conversation. And then I'm like, all right, well, listen, I just popped in mind. I just want to make sure that you're being safe. And just real quick, you know, once again, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell any real estate? You know, friends, family, coworkers, something like that. Throw that line in real quick. They say yes, they say no. I'm like, all right, well, I appreciate you thinking about me. Hey, listen, if anybody comes to mind, reach out and let me know. And believe it or not, 90% of the time that I call these people, they're like, oh, I was just thinking about you because, you know, so-and-so wants to buy a house. And they say that as the opening line to me, right? A lot of times it is buyers, but sometimes it is sellers. The point is to get the positive reinforcement back into your head, get the positive affirmation back in your head. And that's where I was going to go with, you know, the second part of the conversation when we'll talk about quarantine. But for the most part, all I'm doing is getting myself into a positive role. And I might call 5 more clients after that. And I might be like, all right, I'm going to do some past client phone calls right now. And then once I'm feeling good, then I can get on, because normally 9 out of 10 times that first phone call you make as an expires a FISBO is going to be a negative one. So I already have my positiveness moving forward. So I would say anything you guys can do to break the barrier between yourself and the past client, just do it.
And would you say that you work in a lot of FISBOs or expired? So which one are you working more of, if you don't mind?
Those all been my number 1 and 2 sources of business, right? So
Really?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you mind if I ask you a couple of questions on those?
Go for it.
Just like on the FISBO approach, what has been your approach on the force of owners? You know, the key on FISBOs that we've always talked about is help. You know, and then when they're ready to open up. So what's been your approach? Are you taking that approach? How are you approaching the force of owners?
Currently or in the past?
No, even the past. Yeah, past and, even leading up to current as well.
Well, I take a different approach, right? So I have a script, and in my script, by the way, every script that I use is Mike Ferry based. So just in case you guys are curious, normally when I'm calling a for-sale by owner, I say, "Hey, Mike, my name is Rich. I'm with Remax. I see that you have property where 123 Main Street that is currently on the market, and let's have a couple of quick questions. Do you mind?" And they're all 90% of the time, they're either gonna, if they don't want to talk, they're gonna brush you off right there and then. But 90% of the time, they care about their house, right? So they're gonna say yes, of course. And my first question always that I ask is, I see that you've been on the market, and I'll look, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. And my only question to you is, at what point in time will you start interviewing real estate agents to represent you getting your property sold? And then they all say 2 weeks, 1 week, a month, 3 months. So I get a date in my head because now I'm putting a follow-up plan into my head. And then right there after that, I'll go into my script, and my script will be something along the lines of, okay, I see you've been on the market for 7 days. What have you been doing to market and advertise? And then you just start letting them talk. And then they'll say it's on Zillow, it's on Trulia, it's on this, wherever it is. And then I'll be like, all right, what else you doing? And then subconsciously, I'm trying to make them feel like they're not doing enough. And I keep bringing them down that path. And right now, more than ever, they need us. They need our databases. They need our contacts. They need our real estate agents. They need everybody. So right now, every FSBO that I'm calling, I'm going with that mindset is you can't do this on your own because you can't hold open houses right now. You can't really let people in through Zillow. So if you are going to let people through in, you got to have to follow CDC guidelines. But if they're not following the CDC guidelines and they're just letting people into the door, then they're still not going to have anybody because nobody's calling them. So I'm calling them with a different approach of, listen, where are you moving to? We're moving to, we're leaving New York, we're coming to Jersey. Great. What's your expectation? How long did you want to be able to sell your property? And, we were hoping to be 30 days. Great. So I'm just repeating, reiterating exactly what they're saying. But the main information that I needed is how long are they going to be? And then do they have any other real estate agents that they're working with? Or do they have an agent in mind if they were to list the property, right? So I'm just basically taking down a path, right? And that path is, to me, is when you're going to interview, where are you moving to? And then from where you're moving to, how long do you want to be? What kind of marketing and advertising you're doing? And what could I do? And I always end, what could I do for you right now to help you out? And then sometimes they'll pick my brain of a couple of different questions. I'm like, sure, save my information, give me a call.
Interesting. And I mean, you bringing any buyers to them? You just keep focused on the follow-up?
Well, I stay focused on the follow-up. So they all say, if you have a buyer, bring a buyer. And then right when they say that, I'll say, hey, listen, Mr. Seller, do you know the difference between a strong listing agent and a buyer's agent? Then they'll say, well, no, I don't know the difference. If you have a buyer, you bring a buyer. And then, sorry, my phone just keeps ringing. If you have a buyer, bring a buyer. I'll be like, listen, I don't represent buyers and bring buyers to your property. And then they'll, what do you mean you don't do that? I'll be like, well, I represent sellers, and again, sellers top dollar for their property. And I'll say, do you know the difference between a strong listing agent and a buyer's agent? They'll be like, well, you both have buyers. I'm like, correct in a way, but I'll say, I represent you. And every time I list a property, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to prospect, I'm going to find buyers, I'm going to bring buyers to your house that I represent. So I'm never going to take a buyer physically and show them 5 houses. And the reason why is a buyer's agent's job is to negotiate against you. So if you're asking $500,000 for a property, they're trying to get that property $475,000, where I'm trying to get you 500, if not more money for your property. So the value that I bring to you is netting you more money into your pocket. And can you see the difference? And then they're like, oh, I didn't know there's a difference between the two. And I'll be like, yes. And then that's when I go for a close and be like, wouldn't you like have a strong listing agent into your pocket where we'll be able to get you the most amount of money because you want to get to New Jersey and within 30 days. And if we can do this within this time period, would this be of any value to you? And, then you're just walking them down the line because that line is eventually trying to get you into an appointment. And then I'll say, listen, and I'm always honest with them. I'm a very honest agent. I'll say, I'm never going to tell you I have a buyer for your house unless I really do, but chances are that's never going to happen for me. And by the way, I'm just talking like all over the place. When it's in a script, when it's in a dialogue, and I'm actually walking you down the line, it seems a lot more natural and it seems a lot more being able to get you to the end, right?
Yeah, I mean, these are definitely important points that you're sharing with the group here. So I know there was a question actually on that. Um, May asked if you call me. All right. So so May asked if you call me and they're selling for sale by owner. And they said, well, I already got an agent, Rich. So thank you for calling, but I already got an agent. So if I decide to list my house, I'm giving it to that agent. What would you say? That was the
So if
question
they
by
just,
May Land. Mhm.
so if they're saying that they already have an agent, period, like,
No. So they're listed for sale by owner,
uh-huh.
and but they want to try it on their own, quote unquote. They want to try it on their own. But Rich, thank you for calling. I want to give it to I'm going to give it to Mike Napolitano at Remax. So, but thanks, Rich, for calling, though. I appreciate that. If
Absolutely.
I'm gonna list it with a broker, I'm listed with Mike, not with you, Rich.
Absolutely. And typically that's a very hard objection to overcome. So you always have to take a step back. So if somebody said, I already decided on an agent, I'll say, okay, I can appreciate that. May I ask, did you have an interview process for real estate agents already that I missed? And then they might say, yeah, I did that. Or they might turn around and say, no, Mike's my best friend. And then it depending on what kind of answers they give, I always say, listen, before you sign on that contract for multi-months for thousands of dollars, don't you think you owe yourself for a second opinion before you resume to sign the contract with Mike? And they're like, well, why do I need to do that? And then if they say, listen, Mike's my friend, I'll turn around and say, hey, listen, I can appreciate that Mike's your friend, but you know what say, doing business with friendship, right? Sometimes it never turns out positive, right? So would you take advice from your friend, or would you take advice from an unbiased third party that has their best interest in you to put the most amount of your money? Or are you looking to do your friend a favor and give them a couple of dollars into their pocket? Which one would it be? You know?
That 100% true. That was definitely a good comeback. I would have went on the interview. Yeah, I would have went. That was a good one. So we got a couple more questions over here. Olga Moldavsky asked, when is your second follow-up call after the initial conversation? So a lot of people ask this. Olga Moldavsky asked, when's your next call after the first one?
It is so if they say, call me back in a week, the rule of thumb is cut that in half. So you call back in a couple of days. They say call back in a month, call back in 2 weeks. In my opinion, whatever they say, it doesn't mean, because if they say call you back in in a month, and you call back in a week, all I do is, depending on how well that conversation went, I will either call back as a new expired, as a new FISBO, because they have no idea who I am, because they're getting tons of phone calls, right? And then I know
Stop right there, Rich. Stop right there, Rich. That was. You heard that, guys? Rich, we talk about this all the time as a group, and I'm sorry, I want to stop right there. There's a major point. Many agents, I hate to say this, not just in our own office, but outside, are so egotistical. And this is a good way. This is an ego-driven business, that they actually believe that the homeowner remembers them because it's such a beautiful conversation. And I would say, yes, there are sometimes you have some good conversations, but especially on the FISBO side, they're being so inundated with phone calls. That's such an amazing point. So continue. I just wanted to just give you, there was if I had some sound effects in here, I just drop it on everybody and say, hear that one. So yeah, continue. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I mean, listen, I've had some fantastic conversations with FISBOs and for sale by owners, and I'm talking about like 20, 40 an hour conversations where they were just, I thought, in my opinion, there's no way that they're not listening with me. And they're like, all right, listen, call me back on Thursday. Let's say it's Monday. Call me back Thursday. Let's schedule something for the weekend. So I actually listened to them. I called them back Thursday, and they're like, well, who are you? And then I have to re-jog their memory. And then I'm like, well, we had this conversation. Then they're like, no, I didn't talk to you. And then all of a sudden I have my notes. So I say everything that we talked about in the notes. I'm like, all right, well, clearly I did talk to you. Then they're like, you know what? I talked to at least 20, 30 agents. And you know what? I'm sorry that, I met somebody on Tuesday night, and, we're going to be listening with them. And I'm like, well, you just told me that you were not available throughout the whole week. And in my opinion, I'm like, well, I didn't do a good job because I should have got onto that appointment that same day. So somebody was better than me to actually close the appointment, as opposed to me. I had a good conversation and I actually listened to you. So rule of thumb is don't listen to them unless they really give you some information you have to listen to. Like, oh, listen, you know what? Like, we took the house off the market. we had medical issues, or we took the house off the market for something. You have to understand what's an objection and what is a condition, because they both look identical, the same, but you have to be good enough to understand what the difference is. Because if you listen to everybody and anybody, you will not be successful in the business, in my opinion, because you wait a month, you call, they were listed 3 days after you talked to them. Or you look back in your notes and they listed, that same day or something like that. So yeah, I would just cut that in half. Start small. If they say a week, call back in 4 days, and don't be. And listen. Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Sorry.
I think somebody.
Gotcha.
You there? Yeah, you're back. Yeah, so I'm just going to highlight what you said. What's an objection and what's a condition? So fantastic. And if someone gives you a condition, what's a rule of thumb on the follow up there? So someone says, hey, you know what? I decided, I'm not going to move to Florida. I'm not going to move to Jersey. I'm going to move. So let's say if somebody said they're not going to move to Jersey. I'm sorry, they're not going to move to another state. They're going to stay in Jersey. What's your follow-up tactic there? Because, is there any follow-up, or you just continue to just go on to new for-sale owners? Rich, I lost your audio.
All right, sorry about that. Whatchamacallit, once again, when you are looking for a condition or an objection, the key thing that you have to be doing before you even go layer deep into what the difference is between the two, any phone call you have to make, you have to, I don't want to say be judgmental, because that's not the correct word, but I'm drawing a blank on the correct word, but you have to know what their motivation is. Are they an A motivated seller? Are they a B motivated seller, a C or a D or an F, right? And only you can make that judgment. So if I were to call you and you're a for-sale by owner and you're moving to Jersey, and the reason why you're moving to Jersey is because you don't like the congestion anymore, you want to have your own backyard, you want to have a better school system for your children, right? That is more of a want, right? That's not really a motivating factor. But if I'm talking to you and you're like, hey, listen, you know what? I need to sell my house because I need to get to Florida. I need to get to Jersey because my company is now relocating from, Brooklyn, and they're going to South Jersey. So I need to get there. Okay. Well, when are they going to be making that transformation? Well, they already made that transformation. So the 2-hour commute to New Jersey now is getting too much for me, and I need to be able to have more time with my family. So that's not an objection, right? That's a positiveness. And to me, that's an A client that now you need to break down the barriers. If they tell you, hey, listen, we're taking our house off the market right now, or we're not going to do it right now because of, let's say, the COVID crisis, right? So then now you need to understand the differential between the two and mentally kind of bring them. And this is not, by the way, this is not happening in one conversation either. The first conversation is to get all the information you need to get to make yourself positive, right? Second follow-up conversation is to make sure that you understood, and then that you're looking out in their best interest. And then from there, you're breaking them down. In the perfect world, on the first conversation, you'll be able to get to an appointment. But at least in my career, I can count, let's say 10% of the deals that I did last year were off of first conversation. And second, the second time that I'm calling them is more of like, hey, listen, Mike, we spoke. Oh, I don't remember you, Rich. Sorry. Yeah, no, we spoke about, you told me you're moving to Jersey because your company relocated, and now you're building the report back up with them because like, oh, I really did speak to this person and they are following back up with me. And then from there, that the follow-up that you're doing is going to be positive, and it should end in a positive result, as opposed to if I called you and said, hey, Mike, I see the house on the market. Yeah, I'm just testing the waters. And if I get the offer I'm looking for, I'll sell. If I don't get the offer, I'm not going to sell. There's no motivation there. He's just fishing around. Unless you see he listed it for $1 million and it's actually underpriced. And then you can come in there and say, listen, I can get you 1.2, or I can get you 1.1, or I can get you 950 and sell this in 30 days. That's a different conversation you have to have. But for the most part, just understand just understand the person you're talking to. And then, as time goes on and you start to really do this, then you're going to start to learn different personality styles, and you're going to start to learn how to adapt to people, and you're going to start to learn every single thing that really comes in with the actual cold calling. And that's what I mean. I don't want to confuse you guys. If you guys are not cold calling right now, my honest opinion is go on Zillow, get some FSBO numbers, go on, if you have Vulcan 7, if you have
Is that what you're using, Vulcan 7?
Yeah, I use Vulcan 7.
Mm-hmm.
So just get on some type of program where you can get. And if you don't, there's a website I'll give to Mike. It's called freepeoplesearch.com. You can put the name in there and get people's cell phone numbers and get people's landlines for free. You can search it by addresses and you can search it by actual names. And if you don't have a different way, just go there, grab a phone number and give them a call. You can be driving by and see a distressed house or something and know that you can sell it because you got an investor. Put the address in, see, cross-reference with the tax records, who the actual owner is, and then actually give them a call and say, hey, listen, that's next level, but that's just, if you need to get some phone numbers, that's a way to get them too.
Nice. So to be respectful of your time, I'm just going to pace this over here. So we got about 9 more minutes, and I appreciate all you're doing. We got a couple more questions in the box. So for anybody who wants to add any more questions, because we're going to wrap on those questions just in a few minutes. But Rich, I have another question for you. You mentioned COVID and people not wanting to list their property or not wanting to move forward. How are you handling that? What's your conversation like with that?
So in the past 2.5 weeks, I put 11 properties on the markets, and all 11 of them are gone. So which is nice. We're having different plans. So depending on the seller that we're speaking to, if we know they're older, right, and they're worried about this whole crisis, then we're giving them different tactics. So I said we have 2 different plans. Plan A is to do virtual tours, to do virtual presentations, and keep it on the virtual side. And any buyers who's looking in the area, if they know this is the section of town that they want to be in, or this is the building that they want to be in, or the block that they want to be on, they know where they want to be, right? So they can take a look at pictures, they can take a look at raw video footage. Like, don't get a professional in there. Take your iPhone, take your cell phone, and take raw footage of the property, right?
Yep.
So they can see what it actually looks like. And then as you're walking through the property, be honest. Hey, listen, either on a FaceTime or on a video, I'll say, listen, you know what? I know the pictures look great, but look, this wall needs to be painted. And you know what? This carpet's a little bit damaged over here. This hardwood floor is a little damaged here. There's a little roof leak over here or something. And just keep it raw so they know what they're getting themselves into. So I put 6 out of those 11, 6 of them where nobody even saw the property. It was just about data we gave them. They liked it. They went under contract, and now the first time they're seeing it is all throughout when it was during the home inspection, right? So which is different. So I would just
and guys, just to be clear, Jersey's contracts are a little bit different. So we're gonna no. I just want to make sure that they got this though. So because I'm sure that in New York, we operate differently, but kind of one and the same as well, right? So you're saying they toured it, they liked it, they went under contract. The difference is in New Jersey, they have an inspection process after they go into contract. Is that right?
Correct. So New York, everything's on the front end. In Jersey, yeah. Everything's on the back end. So
but still,
we're
either
different.
way, though, it looks, if I had to compare a little bit, we can, and maybe possibly the quote unquote the new norm, it sounds like there was a lot of work done virtually. They seen the pictures, you toured the house, you showed them on FaceTime some stuff, and then they made their decision. And we may see that in New York, Rich. We don't know. Meaning, once we open up, there will be some buyers who say, hey, you know what? I don't want to go to the property. Can you FaceTime me? Can you virtual something to me? And then I'll make my decision to come to the property if I like it. Because we're trying to think outside the box over here as well to know what's the new norm. So good. Well, and now what are you talking about with sellers if they say, hey, you know what? This is my line. This is not my line, but it's something, the wait and see people. We're just going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see. What's kind of what's the rebuttal now? Rich, we're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see. We'll wait a month or 2 or 3 to see. We'll wait till after the election. This whole COVID thing, I'm not so sure, what's been your rebuttal?
It's been actually very simple. And I would say it depends who we're talking to. Let's say I'm talking to an expired, right? And they're like, oh, we'll wait and see for the next month. I'd be like, okay, hey, Mike, I can appreciate the fact that you want to wait for the next 30 days, maybe 45 days, maybe the next year, right? To see how the market is the market's going to turn out. Is your question market related, or you want to wait and see because we don't want to let anybody into the property? Which one is it?
Woof. Woof. Okay. All right.
You have to answer. You have to answer the question though. Which one?
Oh, yeah. I don't know where the market's going to be. Stock market looks good, but I don't know. I'm concerned. I don't want to sell it for too little. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. Like, I lost some money in my 401k. I definitely don't want to lose any money in my house now too.
Absolutely. And you want to put the most amount of money in your pocket, correct?
Well, yeah, of course. That's why I want to wait.
All right. And that's why the time right now is to put your house in the market. Can I explain why?
Well, yeah. Tell me why, Rich. I don't think I should.
Are you familiar with the simple law of supply and demand?
Okay. Where are you going with this?
Okay. So right now, the amount of properties that are currently on the market are relatively low. So let's just say that there is only 5 houses currently on the market. So right now there's 15 buyers running through the marketplace. So when you have low supply and high demand, you know what that does?
I guess it drives the price up, but that's not what I'm hearing.
It drives the housing price up, correct, and also stays stable, right? So if you're looking to put the most amount of money in your pocket with the most amount of buyers that are running around and capitalize in this COVID crisis that we're currently in, you put your house in the market. Because if you are one of the sellers that allow people into the home wearing masks, gloves, and properly allowing people into the property, you will get your property sold. And the reason why is because, once again, if there's 10 houses for sale and 8 of them are not allowing anybody into the home, but you're one of the 2 properties that are allowing people into the home, and you're one of those 15 buyers, don't you think you have a greater chance to get your property sold in today's market than if you wait down 30 days, 60 days down the market, down the line?
Yeah, that's possible, but you don't think they're going to lowball the offers?
Well, we can't, can they lowball the offers? Absolutely. However, if you're the only property on the market and 15 buyers are once again on the marketplace, and it was only your house and another house, and you have more than one offers, don't you think that we can drive maybe a bidding war or some type of bidding frenzy from that, or get the asking price that we're looking for?
I guess, yeah. I'm just not hearing that, from my friends. My friends are saying that buyers are going to come in and try to lowball this stuff. So, but I mean, it makes sense, Rich, what you're saying, but I just think they're going to lowball.
And listen, is your friend in real estate?
No, but he sold some properties before.
Absolutely. And listen, if I'm going to a doctor, and am I going to take advice from the doctor, or am I going to take advice from the guy sitting in the waiting room?
I guess we're going to take it. I'm not going to listen to the guy in the waiting room for sure.
Absolutely. So listen, I'm a professional real estate agent. I study prices every single day. So therefore, I think that if I give you a price that we can sell your house at, I genuinely believe we'll be able to get that price. So let's do this. Let's schedule an appointment, a virtual appointment tomorrow for 15 minutes. Let me go show what I can do to get your property sold in today's market. And if you're willing to put your house in the market and be one of those sellers, one of those 2 sellers, I can guarantee your property gets sold in today's marketplace.
All right, Rich. We'll set it up.
Nice.
Good job, man. Good job. All right, so there's a couple of questions, and then we're going to wrap this. If you don't mind, Rich, you okay? You got a couple more minutes?
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So 1 second. So it's freepeoplesearch.com.
Yeah, I have to double check the website, but I will send you the link as soon as I go to my computer.
Excellent. Yeah, somebody asked, what do we got here? We had Olga has a question, but just 1 second, Olga. If you call the seller a couple of times, he doesn't remember your name. Yeah, so let's say you call the seller a couple of times. So Sume Lan asked, if you call the seller a couple of times, doesn't remember your name, what is your way to make sellers remember you? Is there a certain approach, Rich, that just makes them remember you, or you jog in their memory? What's the best way to get them to remember you?
Just jog their memory. I mean, yes, a lot of the time they're not going to remember you because as soon as you hang
it's going
up,
to go back to how you had a conversation with the last time. Remember what they discussed the last time? Is that what you're going to do?
exactly. And then 90% of the time that they don't remember you, I'm like, that's okay. You know what? We did speak, and I'll say real quick what we talked about, and I'm just following back up, and that's it. And then you just go right there just to follow up back up with them.
Excellent. And then Vance Theoharis asked, sorry, I'm just going back. So the follow-up call. Oh, okay. So Vance Theo Harris asked, is the follow-up call similar to the initial contact?
The follow-up call is mainly like when you're in the conversation.
Like you're saying, hey, how you doing? What's kind of the first approach? I think Vance is asking. Is it like, hey, how's the sale going? What's your approach to the second call?
Normally, I call them back on a Monday, and let's say that we're not in a COVID crisis. I call them back on a Monday because I know they said they had an open house on Sunday. I'll call them back on Monday and say, hey, listen, it's Rich with Remax. I know you guys had an open house on your property this past Sunday. How was the activity? They're like, oh, we had a couple of lookers, or we had nobody looking. I'm like, oh, great. You know what? I hosted an open house right down the block from you, and we had about 15 people, and I got about 2 offers. How was your weekend? And all I'm doing is prepping them to be like, wow, like, how did I do that and he didn't do that?
So it sounds like you're taking a more aggressive approach, right? Because once you tell them that, it creates some like, hey, you did, or it sounds as if. So can you describe that interaction? If you told them, hey, I had an open house and we had 10 buyers, there are some for-sale owners that just try to come back at you. What is your experience? It sounds like they might, but do they?
Of course, they're gonna try to pick my brain, and I'm gonna
pick your brain, or because I think some agents are nervous with that approach. Do they pick your brain, or do more pick your brain, or do more people say, hey man, that's good that you had an open house with 15 people, so and then they hang up the phone, or are you experiencing more of the pick your brain from that approach?
Well, the key word is if you actually had an open house and you received an offer on that property, that's where the key is. So I'm really only saying that if I had a successful offer come from it. It might 90% of the time it doesn't come from the open house. It came from just the marketing and advertising, but they didn't have to know that. So I'm just saying that I had 2 offers, or I had 15 people through the door, and that's what it is. So yeah, if I'm only calling saying I had 15 people through the door, then they're gonna they're gonna blow up in my face, because they're gonna be like, well, what do I care? You had 15 people, I didn't, right? But the main thing is you're just calling to see how their open house went, and you're calling
to stay in front of them. If you were an agent or that didn't have an open house down the block, so let's just make sure we tighten this up over here so if you didn't have an open house, you just calling to see how their open house went, and then just go right back into your original dialogue. How did it go, and then boom, where you moving to, that type of stuff again. Will you go down that road?
It's more of a follow-up call, because at that point in time, on the first call, I already asked for the permission, right? And I'm going with that they remember me. If they don't remember me, then you have to take the different approach, mm-hmm. Right? So it's all listen, how your conversations go. When you hang up the phone, that was a good conversation. That you could have did things differently. And your follow-up can be different, right? Your follow-up can be simply you're calling about the open house, or how they did on the open house, or you're just calling on a Tuesday. Hey, Mike, I'm just following up with you. I know they said you maybe did an open house, or just following up to see how, if you've received any offers on your property this week, and they can say yes or no. And then if you take anything from anything I said, number one thing is never make the prospect feel like you're better than them. Always make them feel like they're on like a higher level than you. So basically you're always going to keep praising them, but at the same time, you're trying to build your rapport. So you always have to close. Like, don't make these phone calls and not close. Like, you have to call them up. If you're calling them on a Monday, how your open house went, you got to say, listen, you know what? I still think it's good for you to get to New Jersey in the next 30 days, and I can get you there. Do you have 15 minutes of your time that I can go over how I can do this? And always go through a close.
Yeah. So basically, you don't enter the friend zone. Just ask for the close. Hey, you got 15 minutes. Let me go over this. So this way you're right into your presentation.
Correct.
Yep. All right. So we have one more question, and then we're going to wrap with my question, and then we're done. So thank you again for your time. Olga Moldavsky, you there? You raised your hand?
Yes. Hi. Good morning, guys. I'll try to be brief. Hi, Rich.
Did you want to turn on your video, or you don't have to? I'm just curious because it's off.
I'm not. Pardon my appearance. Okay.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. No, I didn't know if you want to turn on. So go ahead.
Hey, guys. Okay, Rich, the question is to you. I totally agree with you about supply and demand. I don't think, unfortunately, we can apply this with these tumultuous times. And the biggest challenge for me that these current buyers, they do not match the current sellers' goals. So when I'm thinking about the listing, and I'm trying to work on one listing right now, and I'm thinking whether I need to take the listing because the guy who is trying to put me as a condition of 3 months, and I knowing that we cannot operate at the full mode, what should I do? Because I totally agree with Mike, and I'm with Mike on his side right now with both offers. The current listings that I have, I get some offers, and the offers are really awful. It's like more than 15% of the asking price. So that's the biggest challenge to me, whether I should take the listing for 3 months, knowing that these buyers, they will not give us the offers they want. So we basically will lose the opportunity and we'll lose our time. What can you say about that?
Well, in my opinion is to have a stronger mindset, right? All this is mindset, right? If you generally believe that from facts and figures that you're going to be getting lower offers and it's going to be a big waste of your time, then only you can decide if you want to waste your time, right? But if you take a listing and you give that client raving fan service and you bring them offers and you show them that you're aggressively marketing and advertising the property and doing everything you can do to get that property sold, regardless if it takes 2 months, 6 months, I think they will re-sign the contract with you. But in my opinion, I don't know how New York is, but right now New Jersey we're not getting those low ball offers. We're getting multiple offers on each property, and it is going over price. But it comes down to, are they pricing the house at market value or is it market price? If you're overpricing the property, no matter what we do, you're never going to sell a house. But if
Even we don't. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah. If we don't overprice the property, I have the cheapest property in amazing area of Graveston right now. And I got 2 offers, which were ridiculously low. That's why when I think about the normal price, it's not overpriced property because I'm not the first agent who is taking the property. Prospectively, I'm talking about this person who is going to list with me. Or I'm thinking whether we should take the listing. That's the biggest challenge right now because New Jersey versus New York, we both hit hard with this pandemic. However, it's totally different. People relocating from New York. So I think they desperately buying in New Jersey and vice versa. So people, our owners here, local people, they are not adjusted. They don't want to listen about the prices. It's about lowering the prices. So that's the biggest challenge again.
Well, once again, it comes down to the motivation. Do they have to sell or do they want to sell? If they have to sell,
they have to sell, but they want to get their price at least not overpriced, but the normal price, like a regular price, but not lowering the price to 100,000 out of 700,000 property.
I hear what you're saying. I just think that the client is either going to be still not motivated, because if they're motivated, if the house is worth 700 in today's market, then you should list it at 700. But I don't, because in my opinion, from everything I've been reading and everything I've been seeing, prices are not dropping down. The economy is not falling apart around us. It's not a financial crisis.
Right? It's a crisis, and I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and Rich, I think Rich touched on a point before about if you've done what you can with your seller, you market it, you did whatever you can. If the seller is still motivated, the seller will have to make a decision as to whether or not they want to proceed or wait on the sideline. So, and Olga brought up a good point. You know, in New York, they may be relocating to New Jersey, but I'm with the belief that there will be a transition period, and unfortunately for those in New York, some people may have to transition in a downward fashion, but we don't know yet. So, but Rich, you did bring up a good point about if the seller's motivated, they'll make the adjustments. If they're not, then they won't. And I think, you know, Olga, you're a great agent, you're a great team lead, and I think that you'll provide good service, and the homeowner will make a decision to either keep it on the market, but it couldn't be a judgment of what you and your team provide. So I think that was Rich was touching on. You know, if you've done your work for the past 3 months, you know, there will be sellers that will say, hey, you know, it's your fault. You didn't do anything during this time.
I lost 3 as a matter of fact this week.
And that happens during transitional markets.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Rich was saying, because some people will not be motivated. and we're gonna find it interesting to go from there. Anything else, Olga? This is where we can kind of
very quick.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
When do you think it's safe? I would say not safe, but appropriate to resume cold calls. You just said grab the phone numbers and call. Do you mean right now, currently, taking into account the situation with New York?
Rich, I have to interrupt. Rich, I have to interrupt just for a second because we're compliance. We are on a recorded line. So the executive order is until September for the do not call list.
Yes,
they gave us guidance saying when the executive order was lifted that
yes.
Was,
if let's say it was lifted, I'm sorry to interrupt it. If it, let's say it's lifted tomorrow.
Well, right now you should just be calling your past clients, right?
Yes.
I think you're allowed to be doing that, correct? Right, Mike?
Any relationship you've had in the past, it's following the DNC guidelines. Yep, the do not call guidelines.
It's just straight. So, but you can call people who are not in the DNC.
No. What they're saying is that any relationships you might have had. So if they're from your sphere, it's as per the guidelines that were in the past as well. So just to be clear on that.
Okay. I would say then wait till it gets lifted. I mean, right now I would just mature the relationships you have. Right?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean before. I mean, let's say tomorrow, hypothetically speaking, they say, yes, you're allowed to call. When do you feel appropriate to call right now, taking into account this situation, current situation?
Call that same day, because you don't know what the outcome is. Like, you're assuming that they're not going to want to list their house. Don't ever assume. Make the phone call, understand what they're going from, and just go. Like
Mike Napolitano teaches you.
Yeah. Too funny. Olga, thank you for the question. So, Rich, just as a wrap over here, we certainly went past, present, and future. We went past, present, but two things. Where do you see, from an economic outlook, from just your perspective, not as an economist, of course, the economic outlook, and then also the future of real estate? What would be one or two things you could share with the group as the future of real estate is upon us?
I think we're in the future of real estate now. I think, like you said before, we are definitely going to be moving towards a virtual side of real estate. So I think we definitely need to adapt to the new norm, and we need to embrace it, because I think that older people, for sure, let's say 60 and older, are going to want to maybe revert towards this way that we're doing presentations and selling houses. And I also believe that if it's a younger generation, that, that they're not worried about, handshakes potentially, because I think the handshakes are probably done for at least a foreseeable future. I think that you just need to adapt, and that's it, because this is the new real estate, and it's going to be with us for at least the next 6 months, if not longer. And
what's that first tool or something that you're using to implement in the future of your business? Like, in the future is now, but what is that? What's the critical tool that you might not have used before, or something you use but now you're going to use a lot more of?
Video. I never took videos of property, so we're going to be taking videos. I'm going to be doing a lot more things like you asked me to do, so post a little bit more so we can post out to my clients, maybe do some podcasts, let them know what's going on. Basically, just bring in more information to the actual client. And the fact that having visual presentations, get your presentations that you would normally do on paper, put it into like a PowerPoint, get yourself more comfortable with Zoom, learn more your hands, make sure you stop doing that, get your body tone in, make sure that the information you're sending out to the clients, that they're getting it. You start changing yourself to go more virtual, because I do believe virtual is going to be the future for at least the foreseeable future.
Well, Rich, I do want to thank you for your time. This means a lot to me, our organization, and certainly other agents that will share. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. And we'll catch up soon. All right. Thanks, Rich.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.